Hello, human peoples. You're listening to the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. To support us and gain access to great exclusive podcasts like Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and our latest show, Spiel Boys, head over to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We do game streaming, movie nights with our patrons every Friday night, and you can even commission your own podcast about anything you want. Literally anything, within reason, and we have to do it. You are quite frankly out of excuses not to go visit patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds. Pixar! Robots are bastards! Everyone! Robots are bastards! The show that comes yeah!
We got a great theme for this.
Yeah, I got. I've learned I have to go re-record it, so let's figure that. I'll figure that out.
Yeah. Listen, Tom.
Yeah.
There was no way for me to gently suggest you do the theme in the style of Randy Newman without giving away.
Without giving it away, yeah. So I just kind of listened to it and was like, okay, I'm going to come up with like a real basic melody that, worked fine. It was in kind of a minor key that I didn't love. But boy, nothing could have prepared me for sitting down to hear the opening theme song written and performed by Randy Newman.
Yeah, I could talk for the entire...
Just that opening credit sequence,
yes,
we could probably do an entire episode
that.
just about that.
Yeah.
Because it's just the whole cast palling around with Randy Newman in a recording studio.
Just watching Randy Newman make the theme song.
Yeah, that's all it is. It's the most bizarre opening credit sequence for any show ever. It's just the cast. It's like Friends, but even more meta. Like even more breaking the fourth wall than Friends does.
And let me tell you, when Ronnie Cox walked in, I lost it.
Ronnie Cox runs in and be like, "Did I miss it? Am I too late? Am I too late to see Randy Newman record the theme song to Cop Rock?" You're not, Ronnie Cox. You're just in time.
Hey, everybody.
Police officer.
Listen, I should introduce the show real quick.
I love LAPD.
This is All Bards Are Bastards. This is our podcast miniseries about the show, the one season show, Cop Rock.
Half of one season, 11 episodes.
Wow.
So I'm not sure if it was a mid-season replacement or if it just didn't make it past, winter.
It's amazing that they were like, we have to cut our losses and just stop. This is brought to you all by our producer, Matt Smith. Matt
the
Smith.
Doctor?
Yeah, I guess so.
All right.
Thank you. Listen, thank you so much, Matt Smith, for
Morbius.
For Morbius, for bravely saying, I want you guys to watch Cop Rock. And it was like, why hadn't we thought of that? That's a great idea. Of course we're going to watch Cop Rock.
Cop Rock it's one of those things like the Star Wars Holiday Special that was in my orbit of infamous pop culture legends that I hadn't ever actually gotten around to watching. Right. And that's largely because you can't watch Cop Rock anywhere unless you buy a DVD. Yeah,
folks, if you want to participate and follow along, you'll have to go online and find a DVD copy of Cop Rock.
Yes.
Shout offers it. And that's exactly what we did. Yeah, this show is like...
Yes, that's 100% what we did.
Yeah.
I opened up the package, I was like, ah!
The show is like a butt of a joke, much like the Star Wars Holiday Special. People don't know, this is a detective, it was released in 1990.
Yeah.
So it's coming off hard from the 80s.
It's very much an 80s show, and we'll talk about that, I imagine.
Yeah. It is a police musical.
Yes.
And when I first... So I guess So we're going to have about 6 episodes of this. We're going to do 2 episodes of Cop Rock per episode, and then we'll have one stray one at the end, and we'll do like a wrap-up and that episode.
It'll be the finale of the finale.
Yeah, and we're basically going to go through the episodes. We will, at the end of each episode, episode go through the songs and our favorite songs and ask one big question about the series. But I want to start, Tom, by asking you, like, what did you think this was going to be?
Well, okay, so this is a multi-part answer. So, if you're not aware, Cop Rock is notorious for being one of the worst ideas in the history of television.
It's on many lists. It's voted one of the worst TV shows ever made.
Yeah. It is an hour-long police procedural drama co-created by Stephen Bochco, whom, if you're not familiar with, he's responsible for like classic genre-defining shows like Hill Street Blues, St. Elsewhere, NYPD Blue. He sort of he's the reason why cop shows sort of became like The Shield and The Wire, and he's the reason we have shows like that. He's the reason we have shows like Breaking Bad, I'd be willing to say.
Right.
Because
no, he's like the father of modern TV in a lot of ways.
Right.
Like
he was the first person to take cops and be like, they're regular people. They're all these flawed, they're deeply flawed weirdos in this very unique position in society. And it was just, cops had never been portrayed that way before, really. Certainly not on television. So he comes out of at least two big successes. He's had his fingerprints on a number of shows, but the 80s were huge for old Bochco. And this was like his latest invention, which is very much a Stephen Bochco show about cops that happens to be a musical.
Yeah, so that I want to...
So, yeah, it's okay. It's okay. So when you said, what was I expecting? I was expecting, because it's a show called Cop Rock, and it's a musical drama about cops, I was expecting it to be a little tongue-in-cheek. I was expecting it to be kind of funny,
light.
Like light.
It is listed on IMDb as a comedy. I don't think...
Fuck you, IMDb. It is not a comedy.
No, it's not. I think they did that because it's like, well, people are laughing at it, so I guess it's a comedy. I expected it to be lighthearted.
Yes.
I expected it to be like a naive look at cops, like saving cats from trees shit.
And singing songs.
And singing songs. This is like gritty. This is like True Detective shit. This is similar to The Wire, where it's like pointing out systemic problems.
This is The Wire and The Shield if they were interrupted every 8 minutes by a jazzy song number, like a jazz musical number. Like
a heavily dated song number.
It's late 80s, early 90s, like synth jazz, like real. It sucks. We'll talk about it, but like
but in terms of plot, I did not expect it to be this.
It is incredibly gritty.
It's gritty and complex, and like
it's really complex.
Yeah, it feels modern. Like the plot feels modern.
Dave, it's a good show. If they deleted the musical numbers, this would be a classic show, probably. This would be another Hill Street Blues.
Yeah,
like he wouldn't have made NYPD Blue if he had cut the musical numbers out of Cop Rock. He wouldn't have made NYPD Blue because this show would have been on the air for 6 years.
Right. So like it's always going to be dated.
Yeah.
Because it was made in the 90s, practically the 80s. But you're right, is that by the standards of then, had this not had musical numbers in it, it would have been the biggest hit on TV.
Right?
It would have been a gritty cop drama that people would have just watched. Like they watched The Wire.
Yeah, it's every bit as like dark and real and, like we said, complex as Hill Street Blues, St. Elsewhere, ER, all like the LA Law and any of the other like procedural dramas that were big in the late 80s, early 90s. It is the writing of the show in the 2 episodes that we've watched so far is on that level. Like it's a good show,
which makes it the single most surreal experience I've had in a very long time.
One of the most, mind-boggling experiences I've ever had watching television.
The opening scene the opening scene of the first episode is a no-knock raid, and I was like, Jesus Christ! With a baby in the house.
The baby who gets sold for $200 cash at the end of that episode.
Spoilers.
A baby is sold.
And for very low. Like
$200 cash.
That's a discount baby right
Even
there.
in 1990 money, that's not a lot. You're getting a real deal on that infant.
Imagine learning that you were sold for $200
in 1990
that's like,
money. Too.
Yeah. Like she gets a new TV out of that. That's it.
Oh, she wouldn't buy it a TV.
Right. I know what yeah. But yeah, it opens so there's a no-knock raid on a house. There's a woman holding her baby and she's like crying and like they take away her baby. And the cop says to her, "You're not fit to live amongst humans, let alone raise a child."
Yeah.
That is what the cop says. Mm-hmm. And they drag them all out. And then they start rapping. And we'll get to that song. We can't not recognize the songs when we go through the plot, though.
Yeah.
So that's the first time it breaks your brain, though, where you feel like you died.
It shatters my brain. And it still doesn't quite set you up for what the show is going to be.
Right.
Because they do... Okay. Go ahead.
Sorry, I just realized what this reminds me of. Have you ever watched the BBC miniseries, The Singing Detective?
No.
So just going through that real quick, it's basically, it feels like what this should have been. So The Singing Detective, it's Michael Gambon, young Michael Gambon. It was made around this time. It's about a detective writer who has a skin disorder, and he's stuck in the hospital, and he's in horrific pain because his entire skin is covered in sores. Uh-huh. And it's about how he's in this hospital bed for most of the show, and he's just hallucinating. And so what happens is like his detective stuff like merges with the regular world. And one of the things that happens, I think in the first episode, is everybody breaks into a musical number. And it's supposed to show that he's losing his mind. And that's what this is. It feels like you're losing your mind.
Yeah.
It's everybody starts singing and you're like, wait, did they die? Did the character die? Of course, you know it's cop rock, so you know it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. But I was not prepared for it.
I'll tell you, and even this doesn't quite prepare you for. There's 2 thoughts I need to get out of my head right now before they kill me. The first thought is that even this first musical number doesn't really prepare you for what the show is going to be, because the first musical number, it happens after this like very serious no-knock raid, like you just said, and then it's like this woman with a baby. It's like every stereotype. The gruff cop, like, you're not human, you don't deserve this baby. And, middle of the night, no-knock raid, like a textbook crack house that your parents and teachers warned you about. It's like so over the top, stereotypical. And then the musical number is the guys that are being arrested start rapping about how they are the ones that actually have the power on the streets, but it's like a very dated rap. It's very much my name is Andre and I'm here to say, like it's that kind of rap. Yes. So you're like, oh Jesus, what is this?
It's like a Sesame Street rap.
Or it seems like it's going to be very, very silly, and it's not.
It's not. All the songs aren't silly.
Not in their subject matter.
No. They're dealing with... They're like, some of them are a little silly because they're supposed to be. Like, we'll get to it where
some of the choreography, like when they try to have the mayor do a dance during her song, she, like, can't move. So it's very, very funny.
The mayor who looks like her hair looks like an aging clown wig.
I think she's been made up to look older than she is. Like, I think she's playing, like, 20 years older than she really is.
Right.
But it comes off at making her look like Frankenstein. Like she's very rigid. she can't really move. And yeah, it looks like she's perpetually standing like she's forever in that Magnavox commercial, like she's in a wind tunnel.
Right. She's Christopher Walken getting electrocuted.
Yeah, she looks like she's wearing a fright wig.
Yeah. So they do this no-knock raid. We learn later that less than an ounce of cocaine is found, and they don't really have much on them.
Yeah, they have to they have to let them all go.
Yeah. But so the no-knock raid happens, they all sing, and then the second shocking thing happens, which I feel like we'll have to talk about every single episode. The theme happens.
Oh, right. And there was one other thought. That's right. There was one other thought I absolutely need to extract from my brain before the rot sets in, Dave. And that is, every so often, you'll get a bumper that's like, Cop Rock will be right back. And it shows you the logo for the show. And the logo, Dave, is the words Cop Rock separated by a musical note in between them so that you can see the two separate words with a huge fucking dirty, hairy magnum behind it.
Yes.
Just this fuck off hand cannon behind the words Cop Rock with a musical note. And that is just it perfectly exemplifies the tonal war that Cop Rock is constantly waging upon itself.
Right. Yeah, exactly. The show is very gritty, except for these musical numbers. And one detail, which we'll get into, involving the captain and his personal office, that, boy, I have a lot of questions about.
Oh, that's the Chief Ronnie Cox, you mean?
Chief Ronnie Cox, yeah. Playing the best character on TV ever.
The best character in television, like Ralph Cramden, get the fuck out of here. Mary Tyler Moore, I don't want to hear it. Fucking Captain Ronnie Cox in Cop Rock is the most important character in 100 years of television.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, we get the Randy Newman theme, and that's when I snapped. Yeah. And we're like a minute in, and I have snapped.
Became completely unmoored.
Yep.
I just drifted away.
Yeah, he's wearing a blue linen shirt. He's got like Michael Caine hair.
Randy Newman in this opening credits is dressed like Randy Newman with aggressive cocaine sweats. Yes. And I've never seen Randy Newman that way before.
Neither have I.
Like, there's so much cocaine involved in the making of this show that Randy Newman is fucking snowblind, just through his way through the Cop Rock theme song. It's the only reason you would ever decide to have Randy Newman compose and perform the theme song to your gritty musical cop drama is if you were just 90% cocaine.
Let me tell you, Tom, I think he wrote several songs.
I'm sure he did.
In this episode and other episodes. Yeah. And
not only in the second episode. I noticed all the I looked for his name in the second episode because I'd learned my lesson at this point, Dave.
Right.
I knew Randy Newman's fingerprints were on this at that point.
This is out of its mind.
Yeah.
We're almost 20 minutes in. We haven't talked.
We're not even out of the opening credits. There's so much. It's a fucking 2-minute sequence of Randy Newman trying to sweat the coke out of his system with the cast of Cop Rock just leaning on his piano and grinning at him like he's their dad telling them a story.
They're like nodding along like, ooh, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, and it cuts to this one of the lead actresses doing this very arrhythmic dance.
Yes.
Like, she can't find the beat, but she wants to move anyway.
It's all right. I would compare it to the Peacemaker opening, but unironic, where I'm never gonna skip this. Like, I'm never gonna skip it.
No,
I'm gonna watch it every time.
It's important to it's important to have the theme song, the opening credits, remind you of what this show is, because without it, you start to just get invested in the drama of Cop Rock,
right?
Which means that you're constant. And this happened to me. I don't know if it happened to you, but it legitimately, I forgot it was a musical for long stretches of time. And then they'll ambush you with another musical number and you'll lose your fucking mind all over again.
It's like, don't you dare feel like this is a real show. We're going to keep reminding you. Oh my God. So and then Ronnie Cox shows up during the credits.
It's like you need it to reset. It's like a reset for yourself.
Yeah.
It's like doing meditation at the beginning of the day. Like you need the opening credits to reset yourself before watching another episode of Cop Rock. Like, right. This is the weirdest, most ridiculous thing ever made. Got it.
This is what's at stake. It is. I've never watched something more surreal, I think. And it's partially because it's not trying to be. I mean, we'll get it. We'll get into.
Right. It's like,
I think that's part of our ending question, which is like, do they know?
It's like a Tim and Eric sketch done completely genuinely. Like it's the thing. Yeah, that's as best as I can describe it. It's so fucking weird. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen, Dave.
Thing. It's the weirdest thing. Let's get into the first scene. The inciting incident is a cop is. They're chasing a van. They try to pull it over and it refuses to.
They're chasing the drug dealers that they just let go, right?
Oh, is that what it is?
Well, it turns out that's who's in the van. I can't rember why they're chasing it.
Right.
Anyway, yeah.
We also have to mention that Ernie Hudson is in this.
Ernie Hudson is only in the pilot.
Yes,
Ernie Hudson transforms into Von D. Curtis Hall when Cop Rock got picked up for series.
Right, which... they'd made that decision, but it also felt like the smartest thing to do. Like Ernie Hudson did an episode and he was like, you know what? I'm good. See ya. But like, yeah, they probably just replaced him. But yeah, so they follow him. The cop whips out his shotgun. He says, just like hunting with my daddy. And it was like, Jesus fucking Christ. They pull the van over, a shootout happens, and a cop dies.
Well, what happens, if you recall, is those two characters. We see a couple of the different characters, and one of them is this guy Rose, who is partnered with this other guy, and they're riding up to the scene, and Rose's partner is the guy that like is pulled out the shotgun, and he's like, yeah, it's just like hunting back with my daddy, woohoo! Like he literally like whoops and yeehaws, and as soon as they come up on the van, this guy leaps out of the car with his shotgun, like all yipping and yahooing, and immediately gets cut in half by Uzis.
Right. Yep.
Just instantly killed. First 5 minutes. We just got done seeing Randy Newman sing a fun song for the cast of Cop Rock. And then a man is shot, I don't know, 1,000 times with an Uzi?
Yeah. And it's everybody's really sad. And let me tell you, they're going to stay with the death of this cop for episodes. Like we're going to see a funeral in the next episode.
Oh, it's a major thing. It's
a major thing.
This is classic Botchko. Like... Yeah. I bet this cop's death is going to be a thing for the entire run. Like it's like the beginning of a season-long arc for this character Rose, who's not dealing with his partner's death well at all, to the point where, I mean, we've only seen the first 2 episodes, but I suspect there may be like a subplot where they were actually lovers, maybe, because he's taking it extremely, extremely hard, and during the funeral he sings a song where he's literally like, you'll never know how much I loved you.
Yeah.
So I mean, but those kinds of like those were the kinds of storylines that are pretty common in like Botchko police dramas, you know.
Right.
So I'm expecting shit like that.
It's gritty as fuck.
Right. You know, like it gets and so like stuff that's like maybe a throwaway plot line in like a Law and Order episode is like a huge deal for an entire season. Which honestly it would be. Like a cop gets shot in your unit, and like that would be a thing for months, if not years.
Right, which is still surprising for this.
Yeah.
I didn't surprise it to be that realistic. There's a part where a cop just talks about having a urinary tract infection. Yep. Is that in this episode?
Yeah.
It's this one. He goes, I gotta go to the urologist again.
That's how we meet that character.
Yeah, I just wrote Cop Rock.
Yeah, Cop Rock.
That line.
That's how we meet that character, Dave.
Yeah. So a cop dies. They take a man into custody. They torture him in custody.
Yes.
They keep making him drink water until he doesn't want to drink anymore. They pour coffee down his throat.
They're pouring scalding coffee into his mouth. Yeah.
They are torturing him. Yes. One of the cops says, what we're doing here is against your constitutional rights. It's again, Cop Rock. This is like a scene in The Wire.
Exactly. This character's name is LaRusso. He's like he's Vic Mackey from The Shield. Like that exact character, to the point where in this episode we see him murder a guy who is just handcuffed, like he's helpless, and he just shoots him dead. And so like his whole thing is trying to get away with the fact that he just murdered a guy. And that's like the first thing that in the first episode of The Shield, you see Vic Mackey shoots another cop because he's gonna snitch on him. And so that so that the entire conflict becomes him trying to get away with what he's done. And that's like this character, and it's in fucking Cop Rock.
In Cop Rock.
It's in Cop Rock, Dave.
That's the arc of this, is they find the cop killer and he executes him while he's handcuffed.
Yes.
And it's like, I can't fucking believe.
Yeah, in Cop Rock. This is The Shield, Dave.
Yeah.
Like,
another one is trying to cheat on his wife, right? With the other cop. There's the side.
He's not married. Okay, so one of the other two.
He's not married. She's married.
She's married to urinary tract infection guy.
Yes.
Who is the CSI guy. He's their forensics detective. And he's older, and he's married to a much younger woman who is a patrolman, and she and her partner have like an intense connection with each other, and they're both vibing, and he's like constantly trying to fuck. And she's like, yes, there is an attraction between us, but it must remain as that because I am married.
Right. She's married to a urologist.
That whole storyline.
Right. And
in
the guy
Cop Rock, Dave.
This is one of my favorite things. We've talked about this many times about the 90s. The guy she's married to looks like Peter Boyle's brother, who wasn't like good looking enough to make it in the biz. Like he is just he's just a regular guy.
Right.
Like, but that's what I love about cop shows.
He does look like a Peter Boyle impersonator, though. It's uncanny in some scenes.
Yeah, he's like a young Peter Boyle. And he's a big part of this. So Ronnie Cox.
We haven't even gotten to Ronnie Cox. Okay, so we're talking about all of the stuff that's like
serious,
good drama. Like there's this solid drama in this show. And so So I just wanted to point out that like not everything that's surreal about this show is the disconnect between like its serious subject matter and then suddenly breaking into song.
Well,
and no, Ronnie Cox is like the perfect collision of that point.
Well, here's what I'll argue though, is that from what I remember, everything is gritty and serious except for two elements. One is the songs, and the other is Ronnie Cox's office.
Yes.
And I don't know why that is, because we keep saying everything about this is a gritty show except for the music. There's just one aspect that is if you took all the music out, it would be so weird. I mean, it's weird both ways. So Ronnie Cox has two cowboy guns. He holsters two guns
owned by Wild Bill Hickok.
Yep, on either side of his hips. And it's like, okay, I could see a realistic like character having that, I guess. And when he shows them off to, I believe, Ernie Hudson,
yeah.
He then opens a closet in his office, and an automated Target cowboy comes out.
A full dummy.
Yeah.
With a voice box. He speaks. He says, like, put him up, partner.
Yeah.
And his eyes light up.
Yep. And then in his office, not in a range, not like there are offices next
in his
door.
Office in a municipal building.
Yes. He fires his guns into it for target practice. It makes like video game sounds when it gets hit.
And he also speaks again. He says, "Oh, you got me, you varmint."
Right. But it's not, the guns are real.
Yeah.
He's shooting real bullets.
He's firing real bullets into a dummy in his office in the same building where, I don't know, presumably the mayor's office also is, just random gunshots going off.
And aside from that, that's the only weird part. Or aside from the songs.
Yeah.
It's like this perfect way to like break my brain.
It's so strange because the disconnect is not even a clean disconnect. It's
right.
There's like moments like it's not just that it breaks into song occasionally, which is weird, but like within the songs, it adopts like a different tone a lot where it's more playful. Like the mayor has a song about how she's taking kickbacks in order to build this prison. Like she's accepting cash kickbacks in order to give the contract to this guy.
They're opening a jail in the name of the dead cop.
In the name of the dead cop. It's the show is surprisingly incisive in a lot of ways. Yeah. It's very, very cynical about the relationship between law enforcement and the local government, and it's like The Wire.
It's like The Wire.
It really is.
It's like here's the systemic corruption amongst cops. Like when they're torturing that guy, they're not like. It's not like, oh, look at these heroes doing what it takes. They treat it like guy. This is bad. Yeah.
That guy's that's why I mentioned The Shield specifically and not The Wire, because like in the Wire, like the cops are fuck ups, but most of them aren't really evil. There's a couple that are. But like The Shield is Vic Mackey is an evil guy. He is the bad guy. And this character in Cop Rock is Vic Mackey. Like 100%. Like you're not looking at him and seeing like the gray area. You're like, that guy's he's bad. Like he's dangerous and needs to not be a cop.
Right. No, yeah. This guy is he's a maniac.
Yeah, he's a fucking maniac.
Yeah, it's So Ronnie Cox fires the guns in his office.
Yep.
And it's fine.
And nobody comes in. His phone doesn't ring.
It's just what happens.
The building doesn't get locked down.
And it's the only heightened reality besides the music hall.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's such a heightened reality that he has this amusement park shooting gallery in his office. But the rest of the show, again, not counting the musical numbers, is like beyond grounded. It's like shockingly grounded.
Right, you see us struggling to like traverse.
This has ruined us, Dave.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
It's I think I agree with you. The longer we're talking about this is the most surreal thing I have ever seen, and that includes surrealistic filmmaking.
Right,
like stuff that's deliberately surreal.
Yeah, no, I don't know, man. I don't know what to do with this. I think we have to I quit our jobs after this. I don't know what to do. It's just
it's like the show is gaslighting me.
Yes, it really does feel that way. It hard cuts from Ronnie Cox shooting the cowboy to him giving a speech that starts with, "I get so tired of burying cops," and it's like a eulogy speech where he dedicates a prison. It's just the whiplash.
I argue. Okay. Again, I must circle back to my initial statement. This is a good show. Yeah. As the whiplash in that transition is so severe, it's enough to just rip your head clean the fuck off.
Right.
Like you stood up in a roller coaster. However, I'm 99% sure it's intentional, right? Like, because they do it a few times, and it always seems to be highlighting the disconnect between the public and private faces of law enforcement. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense.
We're going from 1 second where he's like talking about how it was great in the Wild West, and he's like literally playing cowboy in his office, hard cut to him talking about the sobering reality of being a police officer and dying in the line of duty. Like, I think that's intentional.
I think you're right. It's just so hard to tell what's intentional.
Right, because that whiplash is like fucking 400 miles an hour because of how strange that moment in his office was.
Yeah. There's scenes in this, and we'll talk about it in the next episode especially, where like they seem to be pointing out racism, but then there's other moments where I'm like, this just feels like 90s racism. You know what I mean?
It's one of those things where I'm sure this was very progressive for 1990, but it's also still has 1990 racism in it.
Yeah. And so it's hard to tell what's, in general, what is them not being aware and what is them saying, yeah, we're doing this on purpose.
I think it's mostly self-aware, honestly.
I think a lot of it is. I think the idea of doing a gritty cop drama with musical numbers was to make a statement.
Yes.
I don't think they made the statement because I'm not sure exactly what it was supposed to be.
Here's what I think. There's two benefits to doing a show like this as a musical. One is just the dramatic benefit of a musical just in general, which is it's really exemplified in the scene in this episode where I can't remember her name. Kathy, it's the patrolman, the main patrolman who's married to fake Peter Boyle.
Right. I'm not going to be able to know any of their names. I'm just saying that at the top here.
I know I caught a couple of them. Like the guy Rose, and then the maniac cop is LaRusso, but beyond that, like I don't really. It's fucking Chief Ronnie Cox, right. And Peter Boyle's brother. So she comes home to fake Peter Boyle, and we see that interaction between her and her partner in the patrol car as he's dropping her off, where he's like, that guy. What's his nuts dying today really got me thinking we shouldn't hide our feelings. Like, I think about you all the time. And he like makes his move. And that's where she's like, no, look, I acknowledge that there's an attraction between us, but it's got to stay there. And it's this like kind of tense moment for her. And then she gets out and walks inside and she sees that her husband, fake Peter Boyle, is still up working. And she's like, well, I'll be upstairs when you're ready to come to bed. And then he has a song.
He sure does.
And his song is about basically how much he loves her and how much he appreciates that she loves him, and he cannot understand why she does, because he's like,
right,
I'm old, I'm fat, like I don't know what, like I'm a guy twice her age. Why on earth did she decide to be married to me? I'm just so grateful. So we get so much of his character in a 3-minute musical number. Like it's like it informs us, it kind of puts us on his side, it gives like it gives a more emotional connection to the character than you would get in just a straightforward like dialogue driven dramatic scene, getting that same emotion out, you know what I mean? So that's like the main benefit of doing a story as a musical, is because you can make those moments that would just be like a couple of lines of dialogue and really, heavily performance based into a song that, is also performance based, but it's much more of just attacking your emotions directly and enforcing this connection between you and the character.
Musicals have the benefit of being the only like genre where you can have characters just say what they're feeling and what they want.
Yeah.
And it's acceptable.
Yeah.
Where you can just have a character say like, oh, there goes Belle. Everybody in the town thinks she's weird.
Yeah.
And you can just have a song about that.
Yeah.
And it's fine.
Yeah, and
we accept it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's because of the performance of the song and like the, emotions that the song triggers. It's a very specific type of storytelling. So there's that advantage to doing a show like this, like that. And the statement I think they were trying to make is showing that we're trying to dress by making, I think the statement is a comment on cop shows, right? Like
it has to be, right? It has to be about how we tell these stories.
Exactly. So by dressing up this very real societal problem that is, riddled with systemic corruption, racism, overworked people that are a lot of, it's sympathetic towards police. It's about police. But that, a lot of pressure and stuff is put on them. And then also, all the corruption and racism that's built into the systems around law enforcement and cops, and we're making it into entertainment when it's like this really serious issue. So like by having it literally be a song and dance show, it's like meant to heighten the absurdity of the fact that these shows exist.
Right.
That's what I think it is the statement.
Tom, I think you're both right, and I think you're doing a lot of work for them.
Well, because they're still making a cop show. Right.
No, I think you're right in that was the intent, but a lot of that gets lost. In the spectacle of it.
Of course.
Yeah, in the pure confusion of it. But I think you're right that was idea, and I know the creator, what's his name, has said, this was a mistake.
Yeah.
And I think, like all terrible art, that tends to be what, like, terrible, well-funded art. Not like Neil Breen or The Room, but like...
That's not art.
But when a movie comes out that is like absurd and hated, I'm trying to think of a good example.
Marie Antoinette.
Sure. Yeah. I just mean like a movie that isn't like, I wouldn't compare it to like something like Morbius where it's just studios trying to make money and they're cutting it down.
Yeah, that's why I picked Marie Antoinette, where it's doing like something with its storytelling and execution that's meant to be big and splashy for a specific purpose or intent. And at the time anyway, it was not received well. Right,
yeah. It's a big swing. Yes. Cop Rock is a big swing, and I think
biggest swing in history, just about.
Right. Not only did they miss, but they struck the audience several times.
Yeah.
With their swing.
The bat flew into the crowd and killed a man.
Yes. It killed everybody. So yeah, this ends. The last note I had was, he executes the cop killer in front of a partner who has to like lie with him. Mm-hmm. And we should probably get into the next episode, right?
Well, and then the last subplot we had in this episode was the mom with the baby, and then there's another lady patrolman, I think. A lot of these characters blended together. There's so many honkies just with brown hair.
Yes.
That some of the characters
it's very
together.
80s, 90s.
Yeah.
Where like, I wrote about this in the next one where it's like, if the criminal's white, you better believe he has a ponytail.
Yeah.
Like things like that, where it's like they all look like you're like, you imagine a movie like Lethal Weapon, The Police Station, where it's all like frizzy, curly 80s lady hair or blonde, that blonde look, like shoulder pads, mustaches, mullets, like it's just... It's the fucking 80s. And for that reason, everybody kind of blends together.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep track.
So I thought they were two different characters. It might just be the same lady who's married to fake... I think it is just the same lady that's married to fake Peter Boyle. But she has a subplot with the mom who got arrested in the beginning and her baby, and she's like trying to help her out. And she's like, well, I don't want to go into a program because they'll take my kid from me because I don't have anybody that can watch my kid. Not anybody that I trust not to run away with them is what she says. So she's like, the patrol woman gives her, I think $50 for like a tip on the drug dealer guy that they're trying to find, and they go there and he's not there, and she's like, well, he must have just left before you got there. Here, give me the other 50 and I'll tell you some more about him. And then she like refuses to help. They have this big blow up, and then the episode ends with the mom singing a song to her crying baby on a city bench.
No, that's the episode 2.
No, this is episode 1.
Is it really?
Yes, episode 2 ends with the captain singing a song with his wife, and then fake Peter Boyle comes to his house and chews him out.
You're right.
This episode ends with mom singing a song to her baby, and then this couple pulls up in a Volvo, and she sells them the baby for $200 cash.
Right.
That's how the first episode of Cop Rock ends.
Fuck it. Yeah, she sings the baby like a lullaby, basically.
Yes, yeah.
And then like keeps singing as the baby is dragged off by like... I don't know, some fucking weirdos who would buy a baby on the street for $200.
Yeah.
Which again, she could have at least gotten $500.
Right?
It's a baby.
It's a whole baby.
That's a life.
It's an entire
she sells
baby.
It for $200. Yeah, it is tragic. Mm-hmm. And it's also a musical.
And it's also a musical.
Then the episode ends and it's like Capra. Again, it's like, what the fuck?
The fucking Randy Newman song comes in over the end credits.
After a woman sold her baby
Police officers are singing.
Do-do-do-do. Fuck.
Yeah.
So episode 2 is called Ill-Gotten Gains.
Episode 2 opens with the funeral of the policeman who was killed in the last episode.
It was that idea of like, all right, you think they're going to make any adjustments between the pilot and this? Nope. Same thing. It's a fucking funeral.
The guy Rose gets up and sings this like powerful, basically ballad to his dead partner where I mentioned earlier he sings "You'll Never Know How Much I Loved You, we're brothers, our hearts beat as one side by side." It's like, boy, I think he's in love with this guy. It really seems like that's the storyline that is going to happen. But either way, it's this huge emotional scene. It's showing all the characters have gathered for this funeral and they're all reacting to this song that's being performed for them, and then the song ends. Hard cut to Randy Newman singing the cop rock theme song. And everybody in the studio smiling and laughing. I was losing my fucking mind watching this show.
It is so... The whiplash is just nonstop.
Watching this show is an assault.
It really is. And so this episode is mainly about like that one cop trying to interrogate like the internal affairs, basically, like them investigating the murder of the suspect.
It's the captain. The captain is captain knows the crooked detective LaRusso is crooked. So he's like, I fucking know you're lying. I know you shot that guy. Just shot him. I know it wasn't self-defense. It's bullshit, and I'm going to find it out. And so, like, most of the episode is the captain basically trying to scare his underlings into admitting that they covered up this guy murdering another guy. And, like, the episode's it's about the thin blue line.
It really is. That's most of it.
That is a line in one of the songs. Like the very first song where they sing that, it's the lady cop and her partner, her fucking horny ass partner, singing a song about the high life in the Hollywood Hills, and she just incidentally sings about the thin blue line in that song. Yeah.
Ronnie Cox has an amazing line in this episode that I wrote down. Guess it's I think he's talking about the mayor. He says
what a reveal. This comes out of nowhere, by the way.
This comes out of nowhere.
Because like Ronnie Cox, just one more preface. Yeah. Ronnie Cox has been like quietly insane because of that like Wild Bill Hickok moment in the previous episode. But other than that, like basically like a likable character. Like there's nothing weird about him. You're just like, oh well, he's just kind of like an old cop who dreams about being eccentric. A cowboy, but he's ultimately like a good guy and he wants to do the right thing. And then this fucking scene gets dropped on our laps.
The line he says is, "A woman was like a horse. You could saddle them up, they'd never complain. Ride them till they drop, and then put a bullet between their eyes." And it was
you left out the last part, Dave.
Oh, what was the last part?
And buy a new one.
And buy a new one, right? And that is chilling.
Comes out of nowhere.
Chilling. Yeah. It was like, what the fuck, man? What the fuck, Ronnie Cox? I'm not even completely sure what he's talking about. Is he killing ladies?
I don't know. He's definitely a fucking vehement misogynist.
Yeah. Because, again, he says you could saddle them up, which you could imply the analogy there is start a relationship with them. They'd never complain, or I guess start a abusive relationship with them, and then ride them till they drop means like, I guess, drain them emotionally.
They're disposable.
And then,
the gist is they're disposable.
And then put a bullet between their eyes is the disturbing part, because it's like, and then what?
And then break up
with them? Yeah, and buy a new one. What the fuck?
You just throw them. Broads are all the same. You just throw them aside. Get a new one when they start complaining. That's what we got to do with this mayor chick. I'm like, bro, she's the mayor.
Yeah.
She's
the fucking mayor.
What are you going to do? Like, man, that comes out of nowhere.
It does. And then he goes into his office, takes out a shotgun, and instead of the cowboy that comes out
he pushes a second button.
Yep. and a paper cutout of the mayor comes out, and he blows it away with a shotgun in his office in the police station. No one cares.
He rode the elevator down from the mayor's office, steps out of the elevator, walks down the hall into his office, blows away a cardboard cutout of the mayor with a shotgun. So we know for a fact his office is in the same building as the mayor's office.
We know a few things.
He's fucking
like you said,
firing off guns in his office, Dave.
Yeah, shotguns. And like you said, he pushes a button to make the cardboard cutout go out, but he demolishes the cutout, which to me implies that he has to replace it every time.
With either with whoever's currently making him mad that week, or it's just the same cardboard cutout of the mayor he keeps putting in there.
Which means one of two things. Either he has in his closet stacks of cutouts of the mayor, or he goes down to the Kinkas every week and says, I'm going to need another one. And he gives them a photograph that he found, because you got to find a photo of them. And he says, blow this up, put it in a cardboard cutout shape. I don't know what's weird.
I mean, he clearly already has the print files, so I think he's just going up there and asking them to reprint it.
Well, if it's the same one of the mayor. But like you said, if it's just people who bother him.
If it's just people whoever's pissing me off this week, he's got to do a whole other brand new order.
Yeah. So it's both are disturbing. Speaking of which, there's that.
Just everything about Ronnie Cox really throws me for a loop.
He's like a cartoon character.
Right, because everything else about the show, you could very cleanly watch and just be like, okay, if you just edited out, like if you did a Topher Grace Phantom Menace edit of Cop Rock and just removed the musical numbers, you'd lose some stuff. Like you'd lose some of the depth of the characters, I suppose. Like I just got through talking about how Peter Boyle's song was important. But like, you could watch and be like, oh, this is just like a what are they, prestige television of the time. Like you would not, it wouldn't look any different from like NYPD Blue. Except Ronnie Cox is still in there, this fucking chaotic free radical, just to confound me, it seems, is in there.
Throw another wrench in it.
Like, what is this character?
It's unbelievable.
What newly divorced bastard wrote this character?
Yeah. He's a terrifying character.
Yeah, wow. He has a carnival shooting gallery in his office.
Why does he have it?
I don't know.
Why does he have it? Tom, did you know the show won Enemies?
I'm sure it did.
For songs, not for writing.
I don't imagine that was a very crowded category for songs in the 80s.
Yeah, that's true. So the main plot, because we said the name is Ill-Gotten Gains of this episode, and it's because Rose is given a new partner, Joseph Gaines. Yeah. And it's like, and they have to like drive around, and he can't stand him.
It's a real odd couple sitch.
Yeah, there's a bunch of these like B plots, and in that one they pull over. They terrorize the city. By the way, these cops, they're horrifying. They pull over because the lights are on in their car, and they're like, "We should help this person out." Instead of knocking on,
Gaines is like that.
Yes,
Gaines Gaines is like this bright-eyed, bushy-tailed rookie.
He's like singing in the car, and Rose hates it.
Yeah, I mean, also Rose is just coming off of the devastating loss of his partner. Like he just belted out a powerful eulogy for his partner, not 3 scenes earlier. So he is in no mood.
No, he is not in any mood. Instead of knocking on doors and being like, "Who left their lights on?" Gaines decides to break
Slim Jim
into
the car. Yeah.
Right. And turn his lights off for him, and it was like, "What are you doing? Like man? You're committing a
crime. Like you're seriously breaking laws. Like because if a cop does it, then you're like, well, now you've got like a scandal because it's like, is the LAPD breaking into people's cars to plant evidence? Right. It's like, I know you think you're doing a community service, but like maybe knock on some doors instead of breaking into the car to turn someone's lights off.
Yeah. And he gets
like there's not
caught
a
doing
baby
it.
in there that is suffocating or something.
Right.
Like,
They have no probable cause to break into a man's car. And the man comes out and he's like, what the hell are you doing to my car? And he accidentally scratches the car trying to get into it. And the guy is rightfully mad. Like, what are you doing? And Rose flips out and punches the mirror. And
he destroys it with his baton. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And then he's just like, I'm going to put you up on charges. Oh, your mirror's out kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's like they are just terrorizing this man.
Uh-huh.
And then, what's his name? I said his name. Gaines. Like de-escalates it and offers to pay for it.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's the first nice thing a cop does in this episode.
Yes.
Or in this show.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I'm curious what they're setting up there with Gaines.
I think a lot of these shows deal with that. The idea, I mean, we just got through a big scene about the thin blue line, and there's this idea of like the only cops who actually want to help the community are rookies, and then after a year on the job you get used to like the scum you're around, and like Gaines is just Rose is coming off losing his partner, like his best friend, who got in his eyes to the community that he was just trying to protect, when of course that's not the case, but like that's fairly common in shows like this. So I think it's just trying to be like an honest, complicated depiction of what being a cop is, at least in this dramatized Hollywood version of it.
Yes, this musical TV show.
But like that idea, it's us against them, and the idea of casual corruption, which people knew about it back then, but now it's all over Twitter every day. So like this shit happens all the time.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's just part of that sort of Botchko pedigree of like showing cops as they quote unquote really are.
Yeah, of course.
Obviously it's still a very Hollywood version, but it is like kind of showing the not good stuff about cops, like the bad shit, the corruption, and the casual corruption, and they, like you said, is terrorizing the community.
Yeah. There's a very dark interrogation in this one where a woman is doing a lineup, and we'll talk about the lineup.
Boy, will we.
And the idea is she doesn't identify anybody, and they're trying to press her to like name her boyfriend, right?
Well, so what it is she's the housekeeper of this fucking fuck off rich goofball family that it's almost exactly like the end of Parasite. Minor spoilers if you haven't seen Parasite, but like their housekeeper got hit over the head, and their house was robbed while their housekeeper was injured, and they are infinitely more concerned with going through the house to see what was stolen. And they sort of treat their housekeeper, who's got like this bleeding head wound and is on a stretcher. They're like, oh, don't worry about the cost, we'll cover it. And then they just walk away from her and start like continuing to freak out about rugs that are missing from their house.
Right.
So the fucking maniac cop, LaRusso, has theorized, probably correctly, because that's their version of making him like a complex character, is like, well, he's actually a good detective. He's just a fucking... He's a bad person. Not just he is also a maniac and a criminal, but he's also a good detective. Yeah. So he has deduced that the robbery, like, she was part of the robbery, probably not willingly, but was in on the robbery. So they have that failed lineup scene, and then there's an interrogation scene afterwards where he confronts her with that. Okay,
right,
sorry.
And he tells her, your hair smells nice. What kind of shampoo do you use? He gets in close and sniffs her.
Yeah.
He threatens her with like domestic abuse, basically. He says like, if you don't tell us, we're going to tell your boyfriend, and what is he going to do to you? And what's going to happen to you in jail? They threaten her with
her with prison rape. They threaten her with, when your boyfriend finds out, he's going to beat up on you. We already know he beats up on you. Why don't you just tell? Like, he's being a monster in this
It's
scene.
awful.
Yeah, it's terrible. And to the point where we can see, again, this is like, it's like a legit drama. Like, they cut, like, his partner is clearly like, this is fucked up.
Yeah, he's uncomfortable.
It's a really brutal scene.
Yes, in Cop Rock.
It's fucking Cop Rock. with a Randy Newman theme song. What is this show?
I don't know, man. There's also and then the final story again is the internal affairs, and he goes to the wife of Peter Boyle and like tells her, because Peter Boyle is the forensics guy.
And he's like, he's cool as a cucumber. He's a stone wall. Like, we know he's not really lying. He's just omitting certain things from his forensics report to sort of cover for LaRusso. And
right.
It's not,
there's a whole question of the handcuffs, because he was handcuffed, and one of the cops that weren't there say, we handcuffed him and then we left.
Yeah.
And then he was killed. And then the people are saying he was killed because he went for his gun.
Yeah.
And he's like, how could he do that? And the cop says, oh, I uncuffed him to move him.
Yeah.
And then there's something to do with the body with cuff marks. And that's where Peter Boyle comes in.
Yeah. So the captain goes to his wife, who is the policewoman who her partner is like super horned up for her.
Right.
And he sort of kind of almost bullies her. Like it really is laying it on thick. Like, look, if your husband's lying about his report, he won't only lose his job and his pension. He will face indictments. He will probably go to jail, and he will probably go to jail for a long time. So if he's lying on his reports, you better get him to tell me. So she confronts him with that. He admits it. They have a tense scene. She sings a very sad song about her parents being in love and what that looks like, and the fact that her marriage does not look like that. So, we can tell she's like despondent and disillusioned with her marriage. And of course she's got this possible romance building up with her super horned up partner. It's a whole ass thing.
It's a whole thing. It's layered. Mm-hmm. It's complicated. And Peter Boyle does the right thing. He goes to the house of the chief.
The captain.
They're the captain.
Not Chief Ronnie Cox.
Not Chief Ronnie Cox.
I can't recommend going to Chief Ronnie Cox's house.
No, I don't want to know.
You might get blown away
Yeah.
by Old West weaponry.
Yeah.
Like you open the door, he just kills you with a Gatling gun.
He's like the boss in Harvey Birdman.
He's a character.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. I was about to say he's a character in Wild Wild West, but yeah.
Yeah. And so he goes to the captain's house, and the captain and his shitty kid and his wife, that's a whole thing. And
they
live in
song.
like a nice suburban house. Yeah. Yeah, they sing into each other's faces.
Yeah.
Like an inch away, and I was like, that's weird.
Did you recognize the captain?
No.
He's the wrestling promoter from Sam Raimi's Spider-Man.
Oh, that's
now
wild.
He's gonna get away with my money.
That's fucked up.
It's the part where that's
my
problem.
There's a few. There's one of the cops. There's several. Yeah, I recognize several faces in this. Like just Ronnie Cox.
Yeah, Ernie Hudson transforms into Von D. Curtis Hall, and if you don't recognize his name right away, he played Ben Urich on the Netflix Daredevil. Yeah, he's one of the main henchmen in Die Hard 2. He's the guy whose face you've seen.
Oh yeah, and so he goes to the house and he's like, I just remembered something, and he implicates the cops. He does the right thing.
Yeah,
he says it's the bullet, it's the entry wounds or something.
It's very clever. Yeah, he does it in a way that doesn't admit he was lying about the handcuffs, because he goes to the captain and he's like, there's something about the report that bothers me, and the captain's like, what, the cuff marks? And he's like, no, the cuff marks, like, they don't matter, man. Like, they sometimes they
he's
cuff
like,
marks.
No, I stand by.
Yeah,
I stand by the cuff marks.
Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. It just depends. No, what I'm talking about is the entry wound, which he says it's clear the guy was shot with his arms at his side rather than extended. So like the line that LaRusso and his partner gave about the guy reaching for his gun can't be true.
Right, he buries them. He basically
does. He fucking buries them.
He's like, I'm not like, in order to save my ass, I'm gonna maintain the handcuff thing, and I'm gonna give you something better. I'm gonna give you something bigger.
Yeah, it's more from what we know of his character, what we gleaned from that song that he got. It's to save his marriage, not to save himself.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
So the only reason
in a really good way.
Yeah.
Like he does it in a way that saves his ass.
Yeah.
Where he frames it like, I just discovered something new.
He does. Yeah, it's very, very crafty. He does it without admitting that he lied.
Yeah, this is a good show.
It's a good show, Dave.
And that's how the episode ends, basically, with this guy. And I want to know what's going to happen.
I can't wait to watch more, Dave. I need to know what happens. Because he ends it. It doesn't just end it by saying, "Hey, I found this thing." Like once he tells the captain about the gunshot wounds and how they don't corroborate the LaRusso's story, he's like, "Hey, look, I see you're here eating dinner with your wife and your kid." And he's like, "Oh yeah, that's fine. You weren't interrupting." And then Peter Boyle's like, "I wasn't apologizing. Like we're cops, right? We're on the job. We leave our families out of whatever happens. You came to my wife and threatened her to get to me." And he's like, "Well, she's a cop too, and she works for me." He's like, No. You threatened her to get to me.
Yeah.
Don't ever do that shit again. It's basically what he says.
He's coming up as the hero. Like he's
my favorite character.
He's the best. He's the most complex.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's just like, don't ever do that again. And then the fucking show ends.
Randy Newman comes in like, "Cops are gonna lie for each other. Sometime for you a cop, you shoot somebody in the chest. I love LA." So not counting the theme song, these 2 episodes, because people might be confused and feel like, oh, they're just describing a good show. There are a total of 10 songs during these 2 episodes. God.
And now it's time to go through them, and we're gonna figure out what's the best song of these 2.
You see, you're probably looking down at your little devices and seeing that we're in the hour mark and like, oh, they got to be wrapping up. No. We have 10 cop rock songs to discuss.
Yes, we do.
So.
Fuck! The first one is "We Got the Power," which we talked about.
That's the rap song.
That's the rap song.
It's very bad. It's easily the worst song, I think, in terms of composition and just it comes off. Like I said, it comes off like "My name is Andre and I'm here to say." Like it comes off as a very hastily written song that's not very well executed. So you're like, oh geez, and it's the first song you hear. So you're like, this doesn't bode well at all.
The second one is the Peter Boyle ballad. And now there's 2 titles, and I'm not sure. The only thing is when I looked up the soundtrack listing, it's out of order. It's either called Since She Chose Me or You're the One for Me. I think it's Since She Chose Me,
because that's what he keeps singing.
Yeah,
like that's like the chorus almost. It's like, I have no idea why she chose me.
Right, and that's the very sad one.
Yeah. Good song. Good song.
Yeah. You're the One for Me is the one about building a jail. The mayor has a line that I wrote down that was just, "I was born in Delaware behind the Dover railway station."
Yep.
Is a lyric in that.
Yep.
It was like, that's a weird
and then
line.
and then she says, "I grew up," or something like, I came to LA as a young lady looking to make my career. And then one of her aides, who serves as like the chorus in the song, says something about like she was like a shapely young woman, and he makes an hourglass figure with his hands.
Yeah, that's out of its
fucking
mind.
out of the mayor's song, I think, is the most unhinged.
Absolutely. There's little weird things like the bribe money is lit.
Yeah,
like green.
It's lit like fucking Marcellus Wallace's soul briefcase.
Right. It's like the lighting of like like Batman and Robin.
Yeah,
it's like a Schumacher.
A neon green light opens up, and it's just a song about them singing about how everybody gets to wet their beak on this kickback. It's incredible song. And again, she can barely move. I'm not sure if it's the costume or the makeup, or she's just uncomfortable with the choreography, or if the choreography was bad, or if it's all of the above. But her attempts at dancing in this song are extremely funny.
It's not good. Yeah. Next song is "He's Guilty." It's when the jury reeks a verdict. There's a courtroom scene. Mm-hmm. It's done as a gospel song.
Yes.
Where the jury, it's what it sounds like. And the final one is "Sandman." It's the one she sings to her baby.
Mom sings to her baby before she sells it.
Yeah. So that's episode 1. Episode 2 has "I Haven't Told You How Much I Love You," which is like sexy sax ballads.
A man walks into the church with sunglasses, 5 o'clock shadow, a fucking party in the back mullet, and a gleaming golden saxophone, and starts wailing on that son of a bitch. And Rose gets up there to the podium and belts out this fucking eulogy for his fallen brother. And my God, Dave.
Yeah, listen, I'm gonna do this right now, Tom. If I die, that's you have to do that.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah. You need to rent a saxophone man.
Well, likewise,
that has to happen.
Specifically, it has to be the sax guy from the Lost Boys.
Of course. Yeah, that is a surreal moment because it's like you said, it's a sad song, but it's an absurd scene.
It's a sad song. It's a sad scene up to that point.
Yeah.
It's like it's doing again where it's bringing together all the characters of this wide cast, and they're kind of paired off or they're grouped in threes, and we get like a couple of different beats of different storylines going on in the church. So there's like drama picking up in the background of this extremely emotional scene where they're delivering this eulogy about this dead cop. And then all of a sudden, fucking Saxman Jones walks in.
This asshole running in with his sax. Oh my God. Speaking of tragic.
He looks like undercover Michael McDonald.
Yes.
Like Michael McDonald got into a box of Just for Men. And colored all of his hair, his various hair configurations.
Oh, the next one is This Is What the Good Life Looks Like, which was equally tragic because it's two cops. Like, it's very elaborate, a lot of costumes,
a lot of costume changes.
Yeah, it's two cops talking about how they want to be rich and how like this is the good life. And I just want to point out, it's not a very good house that they're in. Like it feels like a middle class condo. Like it at least the room that they're doing it in, they're like, oh my God, look at all this stuff, and it's mainly just like nice blankets and a TV. And it felt like the cops were like, man, you guys really need a raise.
What it is a very crowded bedroom. Like,
yes.
But it's that that house is I've seen in like 10 different TV shows. Like
right.
the exterior of the house, anyway. Like it was on it's on an early episode of Lucifer. It's a house you see a lot.
My argument is more this: I don't think they filmed the house right. Like they didn't do this. This was a badly choreographed number.
They
needed
all
to
are.
put them in more. Yes, that's true.
All the choreography in the show as a whole is not good.
Oh, but Tom, you forget the next song. We're the Local Color, which is the lineup dance rap.
That is that's the number that has the most fire choreography. Like they actually try some shit in that one.
It's also the number that loses its mind the most. It's a police lineup.
Yeah.
And like it's the housekeeper identifying from a group of, I believe, Latino men.
Yeah.
And then the music starts up and it's like, oh no. Mm-hmm. Like I had that moment of like, oh fuck, the lineup's gonna sing. And the song is about how
racial
they're always
profiling.
It's about racial profiling.
Yeah,
it's about how they're always the ones who are dragged in here.
Yeah, like, it's the line they keep repeating is "We're the local color."
Yeah, that's the name of the song.
Yeah,
it's grim. It's a rap, kind of like. See, the thing is, they're doing like Latino stereotypes at the same time.
Yes.
Like they're doing I'm not entirely sure they're all actually Latino men. I think some of them might be white guys who have been tanned.
Boy, let's hope not.
Yeah, it's this scene. This is what I was thinking about the most, where it's like they're doing a song about racial profiling.
Yes.
They are aware of racism, but in itself this also feels dated.
Like it's hard to tell if the guys in the lineup
up the stereotypes.
Exactly. That's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell if they're leaning into the stereotypes because they're commenting on the fact that you always pick us up and throw us into these lineups, or if it's just a song written and choreographed by white people in 1990.
Right. While an assault victim watches on as they all sing.
Yeah.
It's one of those where it's like it broke my brain. It's a lot. And then
it was one of the biggest moments where my brain was at war with itself, where it was like, am I doing too much of the show's work for it by assuming that that these, I don't know. It's a fucking challenging moment of the show.
It's a challenging
We're
moment.
like, is this all intentional?
Yeah.
Because some of it is, but some of it I'm not sure about.
It's so hard to tell what they're trying to do. The next song is "If There Isn't Love." That's the 80s ballad about.
That's where she's singing about her parents' relationship and how she's like becoming
Yeah.
disillusioned with Peter Boyle after learning that he lied on his forensic report.
Right.
He's covering
The
up for a shitty cop.
Yep. The final one is "It's Gonna Be All Right," which is just like a song about how they're financially okay.
Well, he's also singing about, like, he starts off singing about how, like, he lost a cop that week. There's danger every day.
Yeah, the first line is, "It's been a hard day, gonna be a hard night."
Yep.
Which made me laugh.
Yeah, he's drinking as he sings the song.
Yeah. He also has an uncharacteristically deep voice when he starts singing.
Not
It's
really.
like-
It's if you noticed, it was not to me anyway, because I noticed his voice leading up to the song. This is the captain's first song. He's got this like raspy, like almost Springsteen speaking voice. So you're
See,
like,
I did
oh,
not pick up on
he's gonna belt it out like fucking Huey Lewis, like when he gets a
Right.
song, and he does.
He does.
Like,
It threw me off. It was
Yeah.
like, oh shit.
it was
moment.
unexpected for like the
Yeah.
captain to be singing like Huey Lewis was a little like,
It was a lot.
yeah.
He sings again directly into his wife's face.
Yeah, but anyway, I interrupted you to say the main thrust of the song that I took away was he's just singing about like being married to you makes it worth it. Like I get to come home to my family and it's worth it.
Yeah, it's about how he does it all for his like suburban family that is far away from the city that he polices, which is the norm.
Yeah,
and then those are the songs. What would you say is your favorite song? It's hard to say the best song.
Here's what
there's a lot of effort into a lot of these,
a lot of effort in all of them except for like that first rap song. It just felt which is so weird because it's the first song we hear it's the first song in the pilot episode of this cop drama musical. So you would think you put your money beats up front. Right? Like,
right.
You put the good song, like, we should hear the best song first.
Right.
I think the three best songs are Peter Boyle's song, the song.
Yeah, Since She Chose Me.
Yeah.
That one, I really felt that one. As a ghoul who's dating a very attractive lady, like, I felt that one. I was like, yeah, I hear you, Peter Boyle.
Yeah, that spoke to me. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, as a real piece of shit myself.
Yeah, I also appreciate how it's almost like it's like a single shot or like 2 or 3 shots.
Yeah, they do that.
And it's just him.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, it's just him at a desk and he's just singing into the night. That was effective.
The next one I was going to call out is his wife's song in the next episode, and they film it in a almost identical way where she's sitting at the edge of the bed, and it's almost just one take. I think they do 2 or 3 cuts, but it's the same idea where it's just her sitting there in the room.
Right. Yeah.
And that's also one that I felt.
Yes.
And I had a third one flagged, but now I can't remember which one I was thinking of. I guess Rose's eulogy.
I was about to say that does seem like those 3 are the clear winners, and I think it's because they're all very emotional.
Yeah.
Like Sandman is emotional, but the song itself isn't complex. The scene is emotional, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
where she gives away the baby.
The song itself isn't that good. But
those
the scene
3
is good, yeah.
Are characters singing their hearts out.
Mm-hmm.
Like really powerful emotional scenes. I would also actually say Where the Local Color intrigued me for all the problems and the confusion.
Yeah.
Like I thought that was a good idea of having the lineup, because I didn't think the show would give enough credit to say, by the way, these guys in the lineup, they have a shitty deal, don't they? Mm-hmm. They're being racially profiled, aren't they? And they're going to sing about it, and they're mad about it. And I really appreciated that they thought about that.
Yeah, and there's it's the only one that's like elaborately choreographed that we've seen so far. So again, tying back to what we were talking about in the beginning of the episode, where like it seems like the message of this is commenting on how we turn these stories into entertainment. This very real problem into entertainment. So I was wondering if the intent of that scene was to have them break out into elaborate dance choreograph. If it's the idea that these guys are like we're performing. We're playing a role.
Right.
We're playing the role you want us to play for you because you keep bringing us in here, so we might as well do like cool ass flares and say Vato and do like kick flips and shit.
That makes sense. And that
but
kind of
or am I doing too much work for the show? Like I cannot tell.
Okay, well here's the thing. We have to name one song.
Man.
One song. I have the one I'm thinking of.
What are you thinking of?
I haven't told you yet how much I love you. I think Cop Funeral Sax Song is the right amount of extremely surreal, and it's probably just it's a very well done song, and it's also very emotional. I would say If There Isn't Love felt a little too like 80s ballad for me. Mm-hmm. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say I'd probably agree with you. I think She Chose Me is the best song, but I think Rose's eulogy song is the one that's like the best example of what cop rock is.
Yeah. And I guess here's the question though. Are we telling people this is just a song you should listen to, or is it about that? Is it about everything?
It's about everything around it. I don't think you could like sit there and like fucking rock out to these songs. Like it's like
right.
Because I mean, people do buy musical soundtracks. I mean, that's how most people experienced Hamilton because fucking the tickets were beyond expensive. So like the songs aren't good like that, but they're good like as within the narrative and and for all those reasons. So I don't think you could really just like fucking rock out to the cop rock soundtrack. So I'm saying like I think Roses is the best.
If you can, bless your heart.
Right.
Bless your heart if you can.
It's the best in terms of being representative of like what cop rock is and the experience of watching cop rock.
Yeah, and I think I'm happy settling on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you just want to watch a YouTube clip of that song as it is performed in the show, that's a perfect representation of the experience of watching cop rock.
Absolutely. So, and now the final question, and we talked about it at the top of this. Does this show know that cops suck? And I want to extend that to, I feel like we've already kind of talked about it all.
Yeah.
Which is just, are they aware?
Yeah, I think they are.
And I think they are.
That's like the premise of the show.
Yeah, and I think I don't want to like come down on an answer because I just want that to be. I think what it is that this is going to be a question on our minds throughout.
Yeah.
It's the
question,
how aware and what is the purpose? What were they trying to do, and did they accomplish it?
Yeah. And that question is, I mean, it's always been on people's minds. I think that question is on more people's minds in the last 6, 7, 8 years.
Right.
So I think we're kind of watching all cop shows and movies with this lens, particularly after Ferguson and what was it, 2014, and then George Floyd, and then 2020, the 2020 stuff in Portland.
Right.
I think it's just more people are watching all of this stuff under that lens, so it's like impossible not to have that question on your mind, I think, for most people now. I mean,
I would argue for this, it's more aware than a lot of things.
For sure. It's more aware than the first 2 Bad Boys movies, that's for sure.
Yeah. It's like oddly progressive in its message about police while still being, a
show from 1990. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean that was like Bochco's kind of bread and butter. So it's not that. Yeah,
it's not surprising.
It's not surprising that he would make a show in 1990 that would be really incisive about cops and right. Citywide corruption. The fact that Cop Rock, the cop musical, was one of those shows is what's surprising.
Yeah, what is surprising is that it's called Cop Rock,
right?
And it is a musical.
And it's a fucking musical. Like, this is a big swing,
right? And I don't think I'll ever get used to it as we keep watching. I don't think the episodes will get easier.
When it's throwing us curveballs like Ronnie Cox, it's hard. It's right, just when you think you've got it nailed down, it does some fucking wild shit like that.
What else is it going to do? I'd love to know. And we will know soon enough. My God, Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got... man, the next ones are called Happy Mother's Day and a 3-corpse meal. That's something to keep in mind, is that I'm pretty sure every episode is titled a pun. Yep, I'm looking through them all.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta correct something real quick. I've been crediting Botchko with Saint Elsewhere, and he was not involved with Saint Elsewhere. It doesn't look like.
Okay.
He got started on Hill Street Blues, and Saint Elsewhere was like kind of inspired, or at least in my mind, like occupied a similar, because Saint Elsewhere is about a hospital.
Okay.
But Botchko was not involved in Saint Elsewhere. So.
He did Murder One with the, I think that has the guy who looks like a baby in it.
Yeah.
NYPD Blue, we said.
Yep.
Apparently he did Doogie Howser, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Murder in the First. City of Angels.
Yeah, Hill Street Blues was where he got started.
Got it.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I just wanted to correct that. He apparently was not involved in Saint Elsewhere. That was only in my mind. So if you were the person screaming that at me this entire episode, I am now acknowledging you.
You heard it. Yeah, you heard it. My God. Is that? I think this is an episode, Tom. I think this is. I'm wiped out. Like, I am emotionally drained from thinking about this and watching this.
Like, man, Dave, I can't wait to watch more of it.
Yeah, I can't wait to see how it'll end. And if it ends on a cliffhanger, we're gonna have to petition for another season, or at least like a movie.
You and I will have to make a movie. One.
Yeah, we will. We'll have to send in a script. But for now, I think we've covered Cop Rock episodes 1 and 2. More than people might have even expected. And I think I agree with you, Tom, that this is a good show.
Yeah.
It's hard to say that because it's also not.
It's also very much not.
But it is a show that, I don't know, man.
I want to find out more about the drama between these characters, and that's
me too.
I am engaged with the show's story.
Yeah,
like it got me. So I mean, I legitimately, there were stretches of like 10 to 15 minutes where I was watching the show that I forgot I was watching Cop Rock, so I wasn't waiting for a song to come on, and then the song would happen, and my brains would explode out the back of my head.
And then Randy Newman would show up.
Randy Newman comes on during the end credits.
Fuck.
That was Cop Rock. My Randy Newman impression is getting more and more just fucking wild as this episode goes on. Yeah. I don't know what voice I just did. It wasn't Randy Newman.
It was Newman-esque.
It's Newman adjacent.
I'll try one. Randy Newman. That's my Randy Newman. That's as good as I can get.
Yeah, it's close. He's basically louder Bob Dylan.
Yes, he's definitely there's a few of them. There's all right. So Bob Dylan. There's Bob Dylan is the hippie Bob version.
That's
Randy
Bob Dylan.
Randy Newman is like the jazzy piano version.
Yeah.
And then I would argue the lead singer of Rancid is the punk version.
Kinda.
Or one of the singers, Armstrong.
Tim Armstrong.
Tring Armstrong. Yeah, he's like the Randy Newman of punk.
Black coat, white shoes, black hat, Cadillac. Buzz a time bomb. Yeah, I can see that.
They're all like from the same plant.
Yeah,
like
from the same planet. They all came here on the same spacecraft.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me go this way. Okay, you should probably go that way. Okay, I'm gonna go this way. And that's how it went, Dave. That's how they went their separate ways.
That is exactly what happened. Okay. Matt Smith, thank you so much for doing this to us.
Fucking bizarre journey we just went on thanks to Matt Smith.
Thank you, Matt Smith.
Yes.
And yeah, again, thanks for Morbius. And everybody, I hope you enjoyed this. If you're interested, we have a Patreon. Patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's how this was made. That's how this was produced. We have a tier where you can produce your very own podcast about whatever you want. We have a bunch of tiers. And in fact, for $5 a month, just $5 of your dollars,
you get measly dollars.
Yeah, it's shit. It's shit money.
It's worthless.
And you get access to so many podcasts. You get access to Fox Mulder's a Maniac, Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Spiel Boys, Star Trek: The Next Futurama. If you want to pay a little more, we watch movies every Friday night with our patrons. Maybe in a year or so, maybe we'll go through all of Cop Rock on there. There's no telling. I want other people to experience Cop Rock.
I need other people to experience this.
Yeah. Yeah, I really it's like the video from The Ring.
Yeah.
You got to spread it around.
It really is. Like watching this, I like there was a moment, the Ronnie Cox moment, the moment where he walks back up to, like, the first time it was weird enough. I was like, all right, I guess maybe he's just eccentric. But the second time when he walks back in after that fucking insane misogynistic rant in the elevator to then shoot the mayor's cardboard effigy in half with a shotgun, where I was like expecting Ashton Kutcher to climb out of the TV like the girl from The Ring,
right?
To tell me I had been punked.
Right. It is. Yeah. No, fully expect that. It's weird because the cowboy one, it's like, oh, this is a fun one. And then later it's like an insidious one. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're both insidious because he's firing guns in his office, but
right.
Yeah.
Right, like the second scene is like where you hope that eccentricity doesn't lead.
Right.
It's like when you see the first one, you're like, oh, well, he's just kind of like an eccentric old man. Boy, I hope it doesn't go down a dark path. And then you see the second scene, and you're like, oh, it's gone down a dark path.
It got really dark.
I will say this: Marina was watching this with me while she was putting makeup on and getting ready for a thing she was doing, and has now made me promise that I won't watch any more of it without her.
Wow.
That's the power of Cop Rock.
That's the power of
strange, seductive magic of Cop Rock.
Oh, man. What the fuck?
I don't know, man.
I don't know either.
Couldn't tell you. We did our best. We will continue to do our best to try to explain what this show is.
Yeah. We might not make it, but like we might die doing this, but hopefully
we probably.
Won't. Yeah. Ronnie Cox is going to find us.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to take us out like a dummy cowboy
and then buy a new one.
Yep.
That's what he does. It's his MO.
That's what he does. He has so many.
Put a saddle on me.
Yeah.
All right. Bye.
Bye.